Thank you. Did not say that. Okay, now you can hear me. All right. So now we will resume. Okay. So we have been doing a lot on the embodiment piece about closing that gap between where we are versus who we are. And that is what this entire year is the Jedi master concept, is that you are commanding source through you, which means you are not just the channel for spiritual awareness or connection or practitioner, but you are channeling source right through your desire. And that is what's going to close that gap between where you are and who you are, because that is the biggest frustration. And it will all come down to how rigid your body is. Now, the more masks you wear, make sure we're recording, the more masks you wear or have worn is going to be the direct relationship that you have with source, which means that when you are a little child and you are empathic and sensitive, and your eye begins to disconnect from source, and you are forced fed the belief systems that you are not enough, that you don't have enough, that you aren't capable enough, that you're not allowed to shine, and you turn that volume down and you have that experience of that you're disconnected to source, the am within you, right? The avatar, the player, isn't going necessarily to try to fix that, because that belief system is so corely anchored that the am within you goes to try to prove or get the connection instead of remembering the connection. So this is what your entire battle has been. It has been, you were force fed a belief that you were disconnected. So you were, all belief systems create reality. So even though you've never truly been separated from source, when you take on that belief system that you are, right? That belief system becomes so corely anchored in your subconscious. Then you have what, 12 generations of disconnected people. Okay, so the subconscious and the unconscious are believing that you are disconnected. So the am, the action part of you, okay, the one that craves, the one that urges, the one that desires, the one that moves, right, is going to be the one who's now going to go, I'm going to go prove I am. I'm going to go get what I don't have or didn't have as a child. I'm going to be more than my parents were. I'm going to be successful. I'm going to be beautiful. Whatever it was that you were taught away from, okay, is what your am has been seeking and searching out in the matrix for. Okay, so when you wake up, if you do not realize that the only thing that needs to happen is the I within you, the entity, the identification, the script, the, the structure, the foundation where everything comes from. If that isn't changed, your spiritual journey will be the continuation of proving or getting or becoming. And this is how we can get lost for so many lifetimes as spiritual seekers. Like, you could be a spiritual seeker and max out at the spiritual teacher level, but never truly regain, remember, rewire that connection with source, because you're the avatar now that is still playing off the origin I of I don't have. So if there's any part of you that is still on any mask level feeling unworthy, that has to change before you pursue anything, before you seek anything, before you look for anything. Because if you're looking for spiritual awareness through unworthiness, you will remain the avatar of seeking. Does this make sense? I really need you to hear this because your entire life depends on it. The name of this class is literally, it's time to choose joy out of life or death. Right? Because if you don't understand that all you have to do is change the I, and the spiritual work that you're working towards is only making your am heavier in knowledge, but it is still coming from an unworthy place. And so even if you studied more hours and you did more ayahuasca and you meditated more, All of that is neutralized if your I is in disconnection or unworthiness. If there's any part of you that feels unworthy or disconnected or undeserving from source, that will basically put you on the avatar of seeker and searcher and trying to prove yourself, which is going to be the fundamental mask that has to change. Okay. Now, how can you tell if you still have that? All right. You're taking the classes, you're working on your nervous system, you're doing all of these things. And then, when the detox happens or the crisis comes up, the old masks pop up. If you are not super excited that that is taking you to your disconnection, if you are still getting triggered by the mask, because again, your mask is what's going to blindside you out in the world because it's vibrating. So it's not about the situation that's happening outside that we want to look at the reflection of. We want to look at how it makes us feel. Okay? Because something could be happening out there and you could say, "Oh my gosh, this is happening." But that is not where you're going to find the subconscious imprint or the unconscious imprint. Where you're going to find that is how that makes you feel. What that represents to your identity. What having that happen out there means for you, because you've got to locate where the I is, and not because what's happening out there is a symptom, it's a reflection. And so the reflection cannot change in the am, it cannot change in the conscious mind. You cannot learn your way there. All right, this process is an unlearning, deprogramming. That's it. And matter of fact, the more knowledge you have, the slower you're going to go because you're building more masks. Have you ever taken a workshop or taken one of my classes and you feel really good, and then a couple of days later it's like you feel like what? I don't remember it. I don't know it, or I've lost it, or I need more. Because that is coming from I'm empty or I lack something. So if your original I is lacking anything, any part of you. So let's look at our basics because we like to keep it simple. All right. Where are you in scarcity with time? Where are you in scarcity with money? Where are you in scarcity with health? And where do you find scarcity in relationships or space? Okay. And scarcity in relationships could be, you're not saying somebody enough, or maybe you're not having enough of your own personal relationship because there's no time for just you, right? So you've got to look at that. Now, why this is so important is because that's where you're going to find the belief systems, the core rooted negative belief systems that you haven't changed the direction of the I yet. Okay. Because at the fundamental part of the I is going to control your nervous system. Really hear what I say. Your nervous system cannot change until you change your I, because it is taking its operation from the central command center, and your center is your I. Okay, it's just like a cell tower, right? It's not doing anything except it's conducting. So it's like you're conducting this frequency from the I. So when you don't feel well and then you do something outside of you to make yourself feel better, all you're doing is band-aiding it. If you're feeling empty and you don't know what to do with yourself, so you go eat, right? You're covering it up instead of recoding it. If you are feeling in lack, right, and then you get your paycheck and you buy everybody, dinner because you want to feel abundant, but you're vibrating in lack, that will end up being a consequence. So what I'm seeing within myself, because I'm the greatest mirror, is what I was doing is I kept trying to change the I through acting abundant or acting this way or acting that way. Okay. But you're acting in a mask. So when you're hiding anything, okay, anything that you don't want. And again, I don't mean hiding like you have lies or secrets, but you might be hiding insecurities or hiding things about yourself. And so when you are out in the world and you feel that you have to hide any part of you, the whole time you are in that hide, you are completely disconnected from source because your nervous system shuts down to hide you. It takes you offline. So when we're living these double lives as spiritual people, right? And again, I don't think we're really there, this group, but you can see this out a lot in the spiritual community where it's like I'm living a certain way, but I don't want anyone to know what I'm doing or what I'm saying or what I'm feeling. Okay? That means every time you're around that person, you have a belief within you, okay, that you're not allowed to be connected to source around that person because that person probably feels like someone in your field at your first 7 years. So you naturally are disconnecting around certain people because you're going back into the I of, oh, I have to be disconnected in order to be in this tribe or with this person. Now, remember when we talked about hormones, and this is how we can kind of really prove the scientific value of how to reconnect to source. And remember, there's only 4 hormones that are required for you to operate with source all the time. Okay. And this is where you can kind of practice your deprogramming while you're recreating your new I. And that is going to be serotonin. I feel safe. And I'm going to say this in every class because I don't want you to forget. Serotonin, I am safe. Okay. Dopamine, I am satisfied. Oxytocin, I am loved or love. And what is the other one? Endorphins, I'm joyful. Okay, those are going to be the 4 frequencies, 4 hormones that your higher self lives in. Okay, so if all we're trying to do is quantum entangle to the higher self, then all we would have to do is be in those hormones. Now, if you go look in the mainstream hormonal like search list of, well, how do I create oxytocin? It's going to give you physical things to create oxytocin, and I'm going to say no. I'm going to show you how to create it in your inner world. Because epigenetics is based on creating the environment that you choose rather than you're in. So the only way that you're going to be able to get that new I am offline is to create an environment where the I can be safe in that world. You're not going to be able to create a new I am in a stressed out, adrenalized, cortisol based body. You won't. It's just chemical 101, right? It's biochemistry. It's not like this is woo woo. This is pure science. And remember, your hormones are the soundtrack. That is going to be the motivation behind your emotions. So the thought comes in, it creates an emotion. That emotion creates a soundtrack, which is the hormone. The hormone then reigns. If it's a storm, okay, so imagine like you get triggered out there. All right, now it's like an electrical storm happening in your body, or something amazing happens. Now it's like sunshine and rainbows in your body, but you're going to have to learn how to generate that environment inside of you, even if absolute hell is happening around you. This is the only way out is in. You cannot generate the reality that feels safe to be safe. You cannot generate a life of love to feel loved if you don't have it rooted in the I. If you don't have rooted in the I, then you're going to be on a constant search for it. That's how you know what you don't have as your I is what you're searching for, what you're seeking, what you're trying to get, what you're working towards. That means you don't already have it, which is a lie. So once we realize I have everything, now I need to create the environment for the new I to come online. So you, the observer, have to create the environment. You have to go, okay, I am like having a situation here, and I am instead going to create a delusional reality within me. Okay? Because we know we can get endorphins from exercise. But did you know that you can get them from thoughts, which is what you're going to have to do? Because you haven't created the kingdom outside of you yet. So you're going to have to find it inside of you and live and play and be inside of that space until it projects. Remember, your movie making team starts in the root. I gave you guys the activation, okay, on how to change the old I to the new I through, right? Like electrical, it's kind of the change of the hands of the heart is what's considered Psych K. Okay. And it is basically realizing that your body is a remote control and it's got a positive and a negative charge. And so when you are switching hands and you're breathing, you are creating a ritual, an intention, and a routing. You're declaring and you're commanding that which you are. Because you can't just have a few thoughts about this I and then hope that the reality demonstrates it for you. It took you a really long time to get the old I imprinted. It's going to take you a ritualistic, like continuous, consistent, routine method to rebuild it. So basically, Quantum Fitness Squared, which is my new Quantum Fitness, is all about building the new body that actually matches the new I. Because if your new I is royal and noble and playful and joyful and intuitive, right? And has authority, does your body match that? Because your cells and your muscle and your fat are going to mold around the avatar you've been playing. Okay. So after class, I want you to like go in and look at the mirror and look at your body. Look at every part. And do not buy into age. Well, this is age, whatever. I want you to go, this avatar is connected to my old I. Now, some of you, I know several of you, if you've been working with me, you know, you've been working on your bodies because, like, that's to me, that is how we create the new environment, right? Our breath, our posture, our core, our center, our strength, our muscle, right? Our BMI. Because remember, fat is dead. So it is going to hold the spirit of the death. Muscle is alive. It's going to hold source energy. Okay. It also helps hold up your skeleton. It helps hold your organs in the right place so they don't fall. And when you've lived in the matrix for a really long time, right? They want that fat to muscle ratio so depleted that you're carrying around more of the spirit of the dead than you are alive. All right. And also, one of the things about Quantum Fitness Part 4 Squared is that if you work out to like blow off steam and you replay arguments while you work out, that argument is recoding new muscle. Okay. If you're having those imaginary fights in the shower with the spirit of water, you're recoding your whole field in that argument. You eat food and you're irritated, worried, or anxious, you're literally coding that food in. So with Quantum Fitness Squared, we don't do anything biological without setting an intention for it. Because if I say, okay, I'm going to go and build new muscle, well, the whole time I would be working out, which I do, is I am affirming my new state of being. So I'm destroying the old muscle and I'm putting the new muscle online. And now it's coded in who I am because the thought, feeling, emotion, contraction, expansion is now online. So this is a biohack because now my muscle is going to be telling me who I am. Because the fat's going to tell me who I'm not. And I'm not saying we can't have any fat because we do need some fat to, you know, kind of be healthy in that way. But when you've been carrying a body around your whole adult life, programmed to the I am, good luck getting it to be on board with who you are because it is completely programmed to all of your masks, your fears. And so its inspiration, its motivation, its desires are going to be, we must seek to find rather than I already am, let's enjoy. So you got to come clean with yourself and be like, what am I constantly still seeking? What do I still feel like I don't have? Because your only work right now is alignment. That's it. There's no hustle, there's no grind. It's a line. And then when you decide this is who I am, you don't need to keep proving it with spiritual knowledge. Now, what you need to do is you need to teach the body who you are, just like your parents taught you who you're not, over and over and over again through pain and reward. So now, once you make that decision of who this new self concept is, now there's going to be a weeding and seeding portion. There's going to be detoxing old programs, and there's going to be manually putting in new programs. And these are going to be programs that are based in alchemizing food, right? Breath, movement, play. Because when you breathe, right, in intentionally, when you take that breath back and you are allowing your body to have this life force energy, okay, you are creating endorphins. You are creating dopamine. You are creating serotonin. And if you hold your breath for that 7-minute mark all the way, not hold the breath for 7 minutes, but a 7-minute process, you will release oxytocin. So, right there in a 7 minutes in heaven process, you can have all 4 of those hormones that the body understands and translates that, oh, I'm safe, I am loved, I am seen and heard, I am satisfied, and I'm joyful because I'm circulating. Okay. The energy is circulating now, right? And when you start breathing, if it's really hard for you to do the deep breath, I will just tell you that that's just the spirit of death. And so keep going. You will breathe life back into your body. But this is why your new eye is so important, because everything has to be built around this new eye. If you're on a spiritual journey thinking that the journey or the meditation or the ayahuasca or the mentor is going to change the eye, it won't. That's why 5D is choose salvation. You have to choose to change the eye, because the eye is directed at what you don't have, what you aren't, what you are lacking. Your eye is in lack, and so therefore your actor is in getting. Does that make sense? It's really simple, but it's not obvious when you wake up in the morning and you're looking at what you're lacking. You don't realize that if you woke up in the morning and had the new eye, you might have things that you're still lacking in life, but you wouldn't see it or feel it that way. You would say, oh, I get to work on my alignment because I'm proving my new eye today. But if you wake up in the old eye, you're going to be like, oh, I have to go work and get money, and I have to go do this, and oh, I have to do that. And now you're just in the program, even if you go do spiritual work. So if you don't wake up and say, oh, I get to work on my new eye today, never did we once say you were there yet. But you see how it's like you're going to either decide that you've already made the choice of the new eye and now your whole day is about alignment, or you're going to wake up in the old eye, forget, and you're going to play out that eye even if you watch class. So this is why it's like we're getting kind of like to the middle of the year here, where I know this is my last masterclass year because we've got the planner. And the planner is a year-long mentorship, okay? That's based in holding you accountable to your new eye. That's the whole planner. It's helping you create the new eye. It's helping you create the new backstory, the true origin story. It's helping you find your exact blocks, right? That your tikkun or your soul baggage that's going to constantly be fighting against you in your reality. And now it's like, okay, everything is an open book. I can see everything. So there's not going to be any blind sides. And the triggers that are going to come up are going to take me to the mask. They're going to take me to the pain. They're going to take me to the belief system. And that's all. That's the only thing a trigger is to show you. Okay. And so then you're going to do your daily routine of, instead, like your entire day is about alignment. You're not trying to learn something, because you cannot teach an am who believes it's in lack. Because if you teach an am anything that is in lack, they still won't get it, or they won't use it, or they won't go for it, or they won't try it, or they'll try it and they'll fail because they feel like they don't have it. Okay, I'm probably telling you some things about yourself, because I know I was like, huh, that's me. Okay, that's what I've been doing. That was what I was doing until I was like, my entire life. Once I got the planner, it's like, there's no more seeking, searching, and lack. There is just alignment. So when there is lack, all I have to do is create the alignment of that. I do not have to go seek the solution. I don't have to go make the money. I do not have to go do anything. I say, oh, there's lack here. So I need first seek the kingdom. And the kingdom keys are, right, forgiveness, gratitude, joy, and blessing. So those are my only 4 choices, okay, that I can use to then recode that feeling, which means now in lack, I'm going to create an environment inside of lack that is abundance. Does that make sense? And what's going to happen is, whatever I choose, if I feel bad about myself, I'm going to forgive myself. If someone is being mean to me, I'm going to forgive myself for choosing them. And we've done this class, so you know what I'm talking about. Okay? If it's a moment of a pattern showing up for me and I'm very aware of it, I can go into gratitude. Thank you for showing me and being aware of this pattern. Okay? Or maybe nothing's happening. And so I'm like, well, I'm going to choose joy here. I'm going to do something joyful in this moment. Okay? Or, right, I'm going to say, you know what? I feel this, an old memory of the past came up. Ooh, I can bless her. I can fill the past emptiness with light. So you're going to use your kingdom keys. First, seek the kingdom. And I'm going to do this in the stillness, guys. I'm not making calls. I'm not looking at my bank account. I'm not looking at who owes me money. I am saying, I am first going to seek the kingdom, and then I'm going to be still. And if I'm really shucking, if I'm really like, my nervous system's kind of getting charged over it, I am going to sit down and I'm going to do the activation I taught you guys. And I can tell you, I've been probably doing it twice a day, because it also kind of stops the rhythmic routine of your old am, because your am is like wants to get through the day, and you think you're meditating and doing all these things. You're doing it in the old I. Do not meditate in the old I. You're not getting anywhere. You meditate in the old I, well, now you're just going to believe that God doesn't love you because it's not coming through for you. And it reconfirms your unworthiness, because you're like, well, I'm meditating like 2 hours a day, and I'm helping, I'm volunteering, I'm being, I'm telling myself I love myself in the mirror, and nothing's happening. And the eye's like, yeah, because we're not allowed that stuff. We're not allowed to be the rich kid, or the beautiful one, or the enlightened one. And only you know what you weren't allowed to be, have, or do as a child. And that is like, when we get to the planner, you have to allow and accept that as your origin story, but nothing else. That doesn't define you, it doesn't make you, but it has structured your entire life. Every relationship has come out of that. Every work environment has come out of that. So it makes it very easy to forgive yourself when you realize you were just operating out of the old I, which was the matrix's I. See, they want you to feel disconnected. They want you to be unworthy. They want you to do all this spiritual work and learn all the secrets of the universe while you're secretly in a belief system that you're not loved by God. I mean, that is a horrible feeling, because I've experienced it. When you have done all this work and you channel source, but your I believes that you are unworthy. So it was like, I'm doing all this work and I'm not getting the return. Okay. So the last, I would say, 3 classes maybe 4 classes that I've given you are going to be your sweet spot to really simplify and stay on your lane, on your road, on your paper. Okay. Because you have no more time to get caught up in someone else's story when they're a reflection of you. Okay. So any trigger, you're going to go and into the kingdom and use one of those kingdom keys, and you're going to create the stillness. And now what you're going to do is put the right environment into your root. Because those seeds, okay, those seeds that are in your root chakra have to have the right environment to grow. If they are not in the right environment, those seeds of abundance that you keep planting are not growing because they don't match the frequency of the environment. The only seeds that can grow in your root in stress, adrenal, worry, anxious, right? Bitter, resentful, guilt, shame, betrayal, energy. The only seeds that can grow in that environment are the seeds that match that environment. Like attracts like. So if you're like, I just can't forgive this, okay, well, that is going to keep you from your kingdom influencer contract. Because if that is not forgiven, because here's the thing, you guys, the only thing we're actually forgiving when on any level, on anything outside of you, is your I. You're only forgiving that your I got programmed away from your desire and it's been operating. That's all you're forgiving, is that I'm forgiving myself for disconnecting from source, even though I had to. I'm forgiving myself from not remembering to connect sooner. I'm forgiving myself for wasting so much time. So if you have scarcity of time, you want to go do forgiveness on not time someone wasted for you or the time you wasted out of the matrix. No. Your actor did perfectly for you. Because remember, your actor has been playing off of that script. So we don't have to forgive the actor, the actions. We are forgiving the identity that has been generated. We're forgiving the script that we were forced to create. Okay? So time and space and abundance and health and relationships are all going to be the frequency of your I. All right? So that's why if you're not doing any I work and you're only doing the am work, which would be the am work would be like repetitive affirmations, meditating on abundance, going out and blessing people, like physical actions. See, the I is only changed in the stillness. It's only changed in the stillness. The am is the byproduct of that. So if you do everything in the am and think that it's going to work backwards, nope, it's not. I've tried. Everything I'm sharing, proven. So this is not philosophy. This is literally tried and practiced, and nope. But then when I was like, okay, I give up. I'm only going to be in the stillness, working on the environments, working on the hormones, and building a new body out of the I. It was like instant downloads started happening, instant success, instant revelations that were actually like connected at the I level, which means that other people's eyes started to change around me. The way things were showing up started changing around me. Because I told you guys I was going to get this right. I told you. Like, I'm not giving up. But again, the more masks that you wear to protect your inner child, the less aware you are of your I. Because you believe that the mask is your I, and it's not. If someone could hurt your feelings, you don't have a strong I. Okay? If you get like unsettled easy or anxious easy, you don't have a strong I. Sorry. You don't. Your identity isn't strong. If you're easily I can't be around negative people. No, it means that your I is unstable and the mask is going to shake. Okay? Your mask is going to fall off. That's why you don't want to be around toxic people. That's why you don't want to be around sick people. It's because your identity isn't connected to source, and so your mask can't handle that anymore. And that's the thing that happens, is the more masks you build, the further away you get from even knowing who your original I is. And so now you're doing all this busy work, which the program wants you to do, with a locked up nervous system, adrenalized cortisol stress running through your entire system, and basically ruining all of your organs, to the point where the spirit of death is now, 51% in your body, and now it's just a long goodbye. Where you don't even care about your dreams and hopes anymore because your body's sick. So now you just want to watch TV until you die. And that's what the Matrix hopes, because it's still siphoning that life force energy that you do create. But you're not using it. You're channeling it into the Matrix from your disbelief. So when we go into the new I, all right, we have to manufacture the desired hormones based on the thoughts. Okay, so how do we do that? Because it's like, if you look online, like, okay, create endorphins, go stand in sunshine, go exercise. Well, no, I'm saying we're going to do this in the stillness. We're going to create those hormones in the stillness. All right. So what frequency will generate serotonin very fast in the body? Now, what is serotonin? I am safe. You cannot change your I until you feel safe. Right? Because if you are not safe, then that means you're in fight or flight. And so you're in fight, flight, friend, fawn, freeze, which are masks. You cannot get to the I in one of those Fs. Okay? That means in the stillness, you want to create serotonin. The fastest way to create serotonin is gratitude. Because when you are grateful, that is the frequency of abundance. Right? You could be terrified right now, and you could stop, hands on your heart, and be like, I'm grateful that Creator is with me. You will instantly feel peace. And now your brain's like, oh, we're with Creator, let's release serotonin. And now serotonin is flooding the gut, and all those cells are not going to sleep. Because realize that you got 3 brains, and until those 3 brains come online in coherence, you will not be operating in divine abundance. Okay? So it's not just heart coherence and brain coherence, gut coherence. Now, when you're in fight or flight, what happens? Your gut shuts down, no digestion. Because if I'm being chased by a lion, I don't want to use the energy to digest my food right there. I want to use the energy to run away. So if you are constantly in fight or flight, you're going to have gut issues. Okay? Or you're going to have hip issues, or you're going to have female part issues, or you're going to have hip issues, or you're going to have sciatic issues. Pick your poison. Whatever is happening to you is a result of all of that area shutting down to deal with your fight or flight. So when you create safety, okay, now your gut is online, which is your central intuition. And now your root can be changed. There will be no I changing without serotonin, because it is in the root. All right. So that is the fastest way to generate the hormone of safety in your body so that your gut can come online and receive this data. All right. The next one is, let's go into satisfied. Okay. The fastest way to generate dopamine, and this is going to be funny for some of you, is not by doom scrolling or going to eat, but forgiveness. Because what it does is it balances and moves you back to 0 point energy, which is I'm satisfied. Right? I'm at peace. I'm balanced in this way. So that means any frustration outside of you can just be, oh, I forgive myself for creating this mess. Instant dopamine. And I'm in the stillness. I didn't eat anything. I didn't watch anything. Okay? I didn't need to buy anything. I create the dopamine instantly. Like, I forgive myself for creating this mess. Now I'm telling the truth. Okay? And now my heart is open, which is my editor. So we want the dopamine. You want to create from a satisfied place. Otherwise, you're going to create in lack. So you want to create from that satisfied place. All right. The next one is loved. I am oxytocin. Okay. Now, this could be anything that you love. Anything that you love or you feel loved by. Some of you have been really working on your relationship with the Creator, and you can instantly connect to that feeling. Maybe it's a small child, maybe it's a memory, maybe it's your favorite vacation. Just make sure that there's no lack or grief connected to this. All right? And you're going to just recall, okay? Recall a proven moment of love. Now, if you have the spirit of doubt inside of you still, I would not try to go into a future memory of what you're gonna love. because doubt will be there. So go into something that you've already experienced, or a moment of like, oh, like love. Okay, holding a baby, playing with an animal, moving into your dream home, whatever it is, you know what that feels like. Recall that and relive it emotionally for a few seconds. Your body will produce oxytocin, and then that is going to begin to instantly begin to heal the body because love is source, right? All right, so we got serotonin, dopamine, oxytocin, endorphins. Okay, so endorphins are usually created by exercise or movement or play or laughing. Okay, so how do you do that in the stillness, right? Well, what I do is I imagine my true I of who I really am. Imagine yourself dancing. Imagine yourself laughing. Recall a funny joke and tell yourself a joke. Okay, recall a giggle moment. Anything that was laughter or play or silly or fun, or if you're like, you are your joy, right? It's like what you're creating, like who your real I is, like that will immediately give your whole system endorphins. Now, if you're in your body, you'll actually feel this. You'll feel like you just worked out. And you didn't go anywhere. Okay, but until you recode the inner world, the outer world can't change. This is why your daily routine is going to have moments of stillness throughout your day. Otherwise, you're going to be living in the old I, because it is living in the new I where you're going to catch the programs of your old I and then repattern them in real time. Okay. And then when you do anything physically, so let's say, okay, now I did my stillness work and I'm recoding my I. Now, when I'm out in the physical world as I am going to do all things from the am as the new I. Right? That means if I eat, right, this food is going to be healing and loving. A few days of this, you'll start choosing different foods. Okay? Like you'll be putting yourself to bed earlier, maybe, or getting up earlier. You'll be excited about movement. But first, you have to build it on the inside. And then when the am goes out in the world, the observer has to micromanage everything they're doing. Otherwise, you're in the old I because it's automatic, it's familiar, and it's a set program. So you've got to glitch out all day long and repurpose your actor, catch him on the job, and make sure that they have the new intention, the new download, which means like, okay, you're exercising right now, but are you exercising as the new I or the old I? You're eating right now. Are you eating like the old I or the new I? Okay, you're speaking to someone. Are you speaking as the new I or the old I? And so you are not going to be able to have a mask because you're going to have to be so present on the words that come out of your mouth, right? And how you eat and how you live and how you think. Okay, even the thoughts you think, oh, that's the old I. Let me take a moment, right? Let me, forgive myself for that program that's running, and now back online to the new I, and begin again. So this is not sexy. It's repetitive. Okay. It was so cute. I saw this little girl. She had a little cute cheerleader uniform on, and she was in front of me in the line, Target or something, and she's literally doing her routine in the line. I can tell that she's like, she's like doing it. And again, I was like, how long does it take you? I think she was like maybe 8. I said, how long does it take you until you can do a whole, like, I think she's at like 3-minute routine, where it's just automatic? And she was like, it takes me about 8 days before my body can do it without me knowing. And I mean, she's doing it in line. She's doing it at the dinner table, right? She's doing it everywhere because when she's not actually practicing, she's practicing. And I thought, this is exactly how we have to do it. You literally have to be in the line like, I'm the new I, right? Okay, so there's no days off or you won't get it. You can't be like, I worked on this morning, and then you just go about your day, because you will be in your own eye. And then you will have to forgive yourself for so many things you thought and said at the end of the night when you do your reflection work, that you're going to be like, ah. So again, that's kind of like, that's fine in the beginning, like the first trimester, that's going to happen. But by we get to the second trimester of the planner, you guys, you're going to be like so aware that you can't live in two worlds anymore, that you're going to start catching yourself. So then at the end of night, the reflection work is like, yeah, I caught myself every time, because there isn't any duality here, which means when you kind of set the intention to choose this new 5D reality, which is I create my own reality, I create my own adventure, you can't live a double life, right? Because what's going to happen is either going to neutralize all your blessings, so nothing's happening, or you're going to be constantly getting good ghosted, this that, and it's going to be it's going to just keep your nervous system in such a terrified place. Because to me, like as a child, like having those moments of calm and clarity, and then getting like your nervous system rocked and startled and scared, that's what you have to build, like a really strong rigid defense system around your aura. And the stronger and more rigid you are in your body, the less the harder it's going to be for you to heal. Because it's like you have made your nervous system so defensive that you're not even really sleeping at night. You got one eye open, right? And that has to be healed. So we're going to be healing the nervous system through the hormones, through the breath, right? And through the pattern changes in that way. So does this make sense? Because there's only really 4 steps to this entire process when we look at it easier. And it is develop your new self-concept, detox the old one, program the new one, and go live your freaking life. I'm sorry, that's easy. But again, what happens is we think, oh, I meditated and I'm doing my affirmations. But then if you're still getting triggered by what someone says out there, then you're in your old eye. Your new eye would immediately see that trigger as a reflection. No trigger. It'd be like, oh, there's that pattern. Okay, I forgive myself for creating you. The old eye is going to be like, what the heck? I've been doing all my spiritual work. Where's this guy showing up from? You're going to feel blindsided. And if you feel any kind of way that's hurtful, you're in your old eye. Because if you're wearing your new eye, you would go, pattern recognition. We're not that person anymore. We got to change that character. I forgive myself, and I bless myself, and I love myself, and let's keep it moving. So let's take some questions, if there are any. Anybody?
I will open up today. So I had a pretty big moment where it could have blindsided me, but instead I had shared it and was very transparent about it. And I knew that I had a support system. So I reached out to Andy and Yaya, like, this is what happened, but this is how I chose to address it. But in the moment, it was like, holy shit, where did this come from?
Mhm.
But when I did a recall of the action steps that I've been doing, like even the physical part, what I've noticed, because I remembered something that you said, and this information came in this morning. Actually, it's 2 things. So yesterday was take your power back. And today it was remembering that any area, if there's that was ever prone to cellulite, that's where there wasn't like life force energy. There was no breath, like holding your breath in.
Mm-hmm.
So little spot areas that I've been treating still, like, I don't care, buttocks or hips. So this old stuff came up, but it came up through my beloved, like the
Of course, yeah.
person that
The
I would
mirror.
trust.
Mm-hmm.
And it was for not holding a bag correctly. It was, what are you, fucking stupid?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And when I looked at that, like, wow, okay, that is coming from me.
Mhm.
And, you know, having the support system has been so helpful for me to not navigate this alone, but still recognizing that, like everything you're saying, it's like reinforcing the importance of, like, I literally had the light bulb moment today, because when I went back, sometimes some of the videos will pop up, and
Mhm.
I know it's not at random, like it's
Right.
exactly what I needed to hear. So when you're talking about the I and the am in one of the last couple of videos, and then today when you're sometimes I have to hear it a few different
Oh,
ways
yeah.
for it to
I
register.
Mhm.
So it's like going into that celebration, but also going in and then sitting with that, like, wow, okay, this was truly a disconnection from self. And as you were talking today, I saw, like, I had recalls of when I had heard similar things from my dad,
Mhm.
or like I didn't bake the cookies correctly.
Mhm.
It almost like in the words, "What are you, fucking stupid?"
Right.
And then hearing the old messages from my mom, even though my relationship is so different now with both of them, but now it's like really this detoxing, and even ending that the last day of the parasite cleanse, just like everything is like I see where it's that really dark, dense stuff
Mhm.
coming up,
Mhm.
and looking at it like, wow, okay, I did not know that this was there.
Right.
So I have really been going within and not reacting. Like I will, for from my own mental health,
Mhm.
I will leave the scene of the crime
Of course, right.
and go in and have that inner dialogue with myself. But now I'm going forward, like when you said you're going to get this right, I really resonated with that, because I told myself that I am here for the win,
Right.
and I'm going to continue to shine
Mhm.
and not put on, sunglasses to appease to whoever it is, whether it's here at home or outside. Like, I have very specific coordinates and a mission, and like I know very crystal clear why I'm here at this time.
Right. Mhm.
I really feel that to the core.
Right. Mhm.
So
Mhm.
this is something, being vulnerable, wanted to
Mhm.
share
No, it's
that,
really
like this
good.
is real
Real.
time.
Right. And the fact is that let's be clear about one thing. Someone saying, are you stupid? Okay. I'm not saying that that's her saying that to her. That's what she was programmed to hear about herself. Okay. So very important we understand the mirror of the eye. It's not like I'm looking in the mirror and I'm 5 years old, like, you stupid. No, that was what I was programmed to hear about myself. All right. And so that's going to be in my field. So when you start to go in and build a new eye, okay, the old eye has to detox out, just like a parasite cleanse. So it's like, okay, I'm working on I am, worthy and loved by source and whatever. And so I'm feeling really good, right? And so now I'm pulling up all that old stuff and pulling it up and out, and energy is alive. And so that energy is going to go into my beloved, and he's going to say it back to me so that I can hear it again, because what's out inside of you has to come out. And in that moment, you can go, that's the program I'm changing. I'm no longer that little girl, right? I forgive myself for believing that. I forgive myself for allowing that. And the new I would be very grateful that it was him that said that. Okay. Because you guys realize it's little soul in the sun. The ones that love us the most are going to hurt us in the way that it will shock us to our core. Because if a random person said that, you'd be like, F off, right? But because it's your beloved, it's like it brings you to your core, it brings you back to your center, and it hurts in the same way that it hurt when it was programmed. That's super important. Okay. The core ones, the ones that were like knife in the gut in childhood, right? They have to be said or done to you in the exact same way of your origin I am for you to even recognize it. That's why I was saying in the last video is when you have gratitude for him saying that to you, because he's just a movie, he's an actor in your movie. I know you love him and everything, but you created him as your partner, right? To show you where your old I is so you could help repattern your new I. Like he's on your adventure journey with you. But he has no control over what he's saying. When it's your time to process, are you stupid? He has to say it. So when we go, oh my gosh, it hurts so much more because it came from you. No, it actually was the only way that it could fully come up. And this is why, if we can have immense gratitude for the people that are really, truly gut checking us with our origin story, so that we can decide, is this who I want to be anymore? Because I know that feeling, Anne, because that was something I heard growing up. Okay. And I heard that in every marriage. I heard that with boyfriends, And so then it's almost like default. Then you're kind of like, okay, so I'm kind of ditzy. He. It's like you make excuses for certain things because now you got to protect yourself from having that feeling instead of, as you're getting really vulnerable, right? And in that moment, you take a pause and you excuse yourself, obviously. And then you go in and you say, you know what, I forgive myself for creating this story for so long because I'm how old? And I am so grateful that it was him because I wouldn't have taken this so seriously. This is no longer who I am, right? And now I'm going to bless him for loving me enough to show me where my darkest points are hiding. And I am going to bless myself so I can be set free of this pattern. And now we return to joy. Now, I'll tell you, that's master level, but that's where I'm giving you the class. Because in that little 30-second sequence, right? If you can give your body new hormones by going through that exact protocol, you won't be skittish when you go back in the room with him. You won't be like, I know that I created you and blah, 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 but my body's still mad at you. If you go back in that room and your body is still mad at him, you didn't do the hormonal change. So I would include if you're real hot, okay, or if you're real sad or you're real triggered, you want to breathe yourself back into awareness so that you can create new weather. Do not go back out there without new weather. Because if you process mentally the storm and you go through it really quickly and blah, 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 and you don't feel the feelings, then what happens is you're giving him permission to do that again. And he's going to be like, oh, damn, I have to do this again. Or someone else you love. Okay? Does this make sense? So it's a really good share because the deeper we get to the root of the old I to change the new I, okay? Right? Those things are going to be projected around you because they're showing you what your core wounds are. Now, underneath every core wound is an unconscious belief that it might be true. And that's why it hurts so much. Okay?
This definitely helps.
Mm-hmm.
I also have a lot of grief.
Let it come up. Gotta come up. Don't apologize for it. That means that you are allowing yourself to feel.
Yeah,
Fine.
feeling that. And then last night I got a call from my mom, and like I really heard her cry.
Mm-hmm.
She and my stepdad, they were told that he has maybe a month to a year to live. The
Mm-hmm.
cancer spread and it's in his pancreas.
Mm-hmm.
And my inner child, like, continuing to work on the center work and balance the joy and everything. Like, I'm not giving up. But
Well,
it's
okay,
like,
let me ask you this. And again, Not to be heartless, this
Yeah.
is my autism speaking, not to be heartless here, but what does your stepfather having cancer have to do with your joy?
I love him.
Okay, but
He,
but again, but Anne, you're a medium. There's no death.
I know.
So what
It's,
part of you is actually in grief? Because it's not your eye, it's not your true eye, it's the old eye.
yeah, this
It's
is
your
tied
old
to,
eye that's crying right now, not your new eye.
yeah,
Your new eye would say, oh my gosh, I am going to bless him. I am grateful he's out of pain, and I'm going to be able to talk to him. See, your old eye is having this human experience that no longer serves you. So I'm glad you're sharing it. I'm sorry my autism is being so direct here, but you have to understand that the grief that's coming up is not your new eye. So I want you to grieve from your old eye, but go into the exact same protocol that you did with your husband. Because if you make a situation different, then you're giving it power. You're saying, my new eye is over here, but I'm an empath and a sensitive. And this is where I will say the biggest contradiction with spiritual people is they believe they create their own reality. They believe they're God. They believe they're immortal. They can talk to spirit, and yet they cry when people die. I don't understand that. Okay? Because when people die, it is a celebration. They are disconnected from this matrix and they are no longer slaves. So, and again, that's probably why I don't lose a lot of people, because I'm totally okay with that, because I used to pray for death because I know what's on the other side. It's heaven. So, what you're actually crying for is your mom. Because as a medium, you know, he's he's choosing this. He's planning this. This is his life path. This is his ascension process. So you're crying for your mom because you don't believe that she's going to be able to hold space for herself, which is your old eye. So again, for him, same protocol. For her, right? I forgive myself for creating an idea that my mom is not as strong as I am. I forgive myself for believing that my mom is actually going to suffer by anything that's created by source. I forgive myself for going along with this story when it is the perfect story of this unfolding. And I am grateful for this awareness. I am grateful to be able to hold space for her in my new eye. I am grateful that I can celebrate his life, right? I bless his new experience. I bless her new experience. I bless my new experience. Return to joy. Okay, when you said take your power back, that's what I mean. I don't know
I
what you meant
felt
when you said
that.
take your power back, but that's what I mean.
I literally felt that. Like I felt everything coming back in. Like I felt myself filling up. As I was there for her yesterday or last night, I was really, really there for her. Our relationship has changed so much.
You guys have to
But
know what eye you're
yeah,
in, though.
this makes total
You have to
sense.
know what eye you're in. If you are talking to someone in your old eye and you are going through emotional journeys with them, you are poisoning your bodies. You can't afford to be in your old eye and go through big emotions anymore. Or all you're doing is you're telling your body that I am the old eye. So this is why, you guys, the self-concept work is an entire semester in the planner, because you have to know exactly what she believes. You can't just be like, oh yeah, I believe we're immortal and I create my reality, I'm God, and then go cry about someone's death. That would be a contradiction in an actor. They don't believe the same things. Now, you could have compassion. That's very different than grief. Your old eye is grieving because your old eye lost everything. Your old eye has been in loss her whole life. So this is just one more thing she's losing. The new eye feels no loss, but deep compassion for your mother's loss. And will be able to hold space from a fundamental grounded connection to source, which is what she needs. Because sympathy don't get you anywhere. except 2 people that are stuck in grief. All right. So what you're going to do is you're going to be like, this is huge. You could go back to this protocol. And if you can't get to this protocol, you're going to breathe yourself into awareness until you can. You're going to lock yourself in the bathroom and do your 7 breaths, 7 holds, 7 breaths, 7 holds until you regain the new I back in there, and she will tell you what to do. Because those are different people. So you've got to be able to see where you're being the old I and where you're being the new I. And remember, the new I is 5D, which is immortal, abundance, prosperity, overflow, intuition, grace, compassion, creativity. There's no grief. There's only compassion. Because you guys, there's no death. It's just a change of world. But if my eye is loaded with grief because I've lost my mother and I've lost this person and I've lost my dreams and I've lost money, then the second loss comes in, I'm going to grieve. But if I'm in my new eyes, I can't lose anything that wasn't for me. That's for me. I can't have anything taken away from me that is for me in my new eye. And I cannot lose anyone because I'm completely psychic. And as soon as they transition, we have better conversations. And you as a medium knows that. And I do know that when it's happening to you, it's a little bit scarier, but it's happening to your old eye, not your new one.
I recognize something where I was mixing up my beliefs of grief versus compassion. So now really recognizing the difference between the two and who I know that I truly am versus like this old, like this death of this old self.
Mm-hmm. Right. And again, you're going to be transmutating her. So let me give you guys an example of how to be in compassion, like rather than grief. So, okay, let's say, you walk by, you hear your friend calling for help, and you walk by and your friend is in this deep ass hole. Right? And they're like, help, 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 get me out. And immediately you're like, oh no, oh my gosh. Right? So here's where grief or sympathy versus compassion are. Okay. If you sympathize with her, you're going to get down in there to feel what she's feeling, and now you're both stuck. Okay? Compassion is, wow, I see you're down in that hole. I bet that's really scary. Are you feeling okay? Are you scared? Yes, I feel that for you. So I'm going to stay up here and hold space for you while we figure this out together. So you see how one is the old I, and the new I is going to be the compassion, which means you are holding space, you are not taking on. But if you're in grief, and you can't hold space for her. Because if you're in grief, you are the same vibration and you're both drowning. And what you're doing is you're taking her loss and it's bringing up all your old loss of all your inner child self. And you're using her emotion to unleash your old I, which is fine for the moment. But if it just becomes your actor being really good in the old I, do you want to keep losing? Because if you go into that, because here's the thing, I saw you wanted to go into the story, and it's just a story. And your story is happening because your new I is trying to come online. And the only way to show you what's in the way is to manifest these kind of things. So your new I is like, hey, I really like to get in that driver's seat over there, but you believe, and I'm going to say this, you believe you have a lot of grief. Okay? If you believe that you have a lot of grief, well, then you're going to produce a lot of grief. But if instead you were like, wow, I don't want to go into this. I've grieved enough. I've cried enough tears. I've let go of enough. I'm ready to be the new I who lives in a state of compassion and understanding, because grief is actually it's actually an emotion that when you get into the higher levels, you will not have experienced grief the same way. You will experience it on the level of compassion. You may cry with each other, but it's not bringing up all of your pain. If it brings up all your pain, it's sympathy, and you're in the old I, which is my time's running out, and look at how much I've lost, and look at how much I've been through. And now your old I gets to be the actor again. Because it really is going to be a constant, do I like, and how you're going to know is, do I want to feel like this right now? Because I don't believe that we need to grieve anymore. I don't. Because we've grieved enough. And as soon as, and you're doing all the fascia work, you're doing the parasite work. So again, it could be a limiting belief that you still have more to go. I think it might be time to just put the detoxing down and now begin to be her at any cost. Like, I'm just going to be her now. Okay? And you will see that you'll have more tears of joy now than you do of loss, because your old I am is constantly healing. You have to be very careful that you don't create an I that's on a healing journey, because then all you can do is heal. Right? Where's the end date? Okay, so 2025, right? It's the alpha omega, it's the beginning, right? So it's like we could decide to be done. We could decide to be done, and then through the breath and through all of these beautiful hormones, serotonin, right? That is going to now fill the cells, fill the body, so that there's no more grief in there. Because the safer you feel to be yourself, the more you are going to have to grieve anything. Does that make sense? I know that was major tough love, but I'll tell you that we could spend time grieving, or we could spend time forgiving that we've created so much loss. Which one is taking your power back? Because I'll tell you, one way is the fast track. The other way is going to be, you're going to remember this like, oh, that was so much grief. Like, I remember it was like right when I started seeing how the planner was working, I was like, oh, I don't have to grieve anymore. I don't have to grieve anymore. I just have to forgive myself for creating so much loss. And then it was like, it's like there's something that happens with truth. Like, as soon as you speak truth, it's like your whole aura changes. So it's like, oh my gosh, my mom's losing her husband, and I feel so. Oh my god, it reminds me of all the things I have to. And she's so asleep, and I've got to do these things for her. Or come over to the bright side and say, okay, wow, this doesn't feel good anymore. I know that I'm a child of God, immortal, and I am here to be the light. All right. And so I cannot be the light and be in grief. So I'm going to forgive myself for creating a movie that was so loaded with grief. I'm going to forgive myself for creating so much loss for myself. I'm going to forgive everybody that helped play that out for me. And I'm going to have gratitude for what's happening with my mom, so I could recognize it, so I could get back to my true I, so I could truly hold space for her as she's going through this. Because you're not ignoring her, but you cannot help her through grief. Okay? Grief is I have lost. So if you're in grief, you are in the actor of I have lost. And that is not your new I, which can't lose anything. See, you can't be lack and in abundance at the same time. You've got to pick one, right? This is the Lord's Prayer. You cannot have two masters. There's no such thing as death. There's no such thing as loss. So when you're in your new I, right, you're going, yay, I get to be compassion. It's little soul in the sun. Over here, I have to be in grief because she's losing her husband. One side is the matrix, one side is the kingdom of God. And you've got to choose, right? Which one feels better? I mean, don't you remember basic Abraham Hicks and Bashar? Follow the feeling of joy, right? As if life depends on it. When I say, you guys, in the coming months, if you do not follow joy as if your life depends on it, you won't get to your new I am. Because she or he is in a constant state of joy. So if you want to entangle frequencies with her or him, you've got to be in the frequencies that they are in 51% of the time. Otherwise, If you are 51% of the time entangled with your old I am, you will keep generating that avatar. Those situations, that healing journey, that spiritual journey. You will never truly create the playground and the playmates that represent the 4 frequencies of safe, satisfied, free, playful, loving, if we're constantly going into grief, right? Which is considered fight, flight, freeze, fawn, friend, because you are losing yourself, losing control, losing everything. And that's why grief gets stored in the body, right? But it can be somatically removed through intention and breath. You don't actually have to cry, but you cannot not cry if you're not in your new I am. If you're in your old I am, you're going to bawl for days, because that actor is the best actor in the world off of that script. So this was such an important share for you. And I am so grateful that you shared both of those things, because I got to share with you how the difference looks, so you don't have to get into the spiritual trap of constantly being in this state of loss anymore. Because, like, I've seen you, and when I say I know you're going for it, you are going for it. And I know that with all of my heart. But there is over processing that can happen. There is overdoing the healing journey. So, what I want to say for the record right now, whatever date it is, the healing journey is over. Now it's decide, intend, and build the frequencies of love that match the kingdom. Because Jesus didn't say, okay, first heal and then come, right? If you go back and look at all of his healing stories, he was like, be well now, like, or get up and walk. There was no like, let's sit and cry for your loss, your daughter died. Let's cry for a day first before I bring her back to life, right? None. He was like, she's alive, because he was in his eye of the Christ, which is your new I, is your Christ itself. Okay, which is all of those frequencies and is in those hormones. Okay, now when the trigger is overwhelming to you, that's perfect. You might need to purge it out a bit. But I really want you to ask yourself, is this real? And then go back to the characteristics of your immortal, superhuman, Christed healer self, who doesn't see anyone. You guys, when you see the people outside of you as weaker than you, that's spiritual ego. Like if I see my partner and be like, oh, he's not as woke as me, that's my ego. Because on some areas, they are more aware than we are. Okay. And if your mom manifested this, it was actually her soul creating this for her so she could move into self love. She's about to go into her self love era. She can't get there if she's hiding under a husband. So everything negative is a positive in the new earth. And everything is a change of worlds, which means that maybe he wants to take care of her on the other side for a while and give her downloads while she's sleeping, but his ego can't let him do that in this life. How do you know? To me, it's a beautiful love story if I think of it like that. But see, what a human is going to see is, oh, they're losing their loved one. No, 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 no. There's no loss in the kingdom. Okay? And grief can become a spirit that sucks your compassion and your empathy in. So when we say we want to take our power back, okay, what is your definition of power? And that is compassion, right? But seeing her as this is the perfect next leg of her journey, and this is the perfect next leg of his. Because, since 2012, we've been losing people because not everybody is here to walk through the finish line in the physical. Some people were like, I'm assigned for this leg, and then this is going to get this person to here. And then when I leave, I'll help her from behind the scenes, and she's going to complete her self-love journey. But she couldn't do that if I was here. Because to me, as a medium, I hear this all the time from spirit. Like, no, 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 I was supposed to leave at this state. And I'm supposed to leave her at this moment. I was supposed to leave at this time because all death is chosen. Because we're not victims. There's no victims in the universe. And so even your mom, although her human is grieving and crying, her soul is rejoicing. Her soul is rejoicing because now she can connect to creator. She doesn't need to create to a man to get that connection. And that might be what she needs to heal. Does this make sense? So it's major tough love, but you guys, this is how that Christed energy is. There is no grieving and there is no anger. There is just, ooh, this is an understanding and this is an opportunity for compassion. Go ahead. Did you have something?
Oh, this makes sense. And I know that when we each share with each other, we're all benefiting from
Of
it. So
course.
I don't consider any of this tough love. It's simply like I know you're my mirror
Hmm.
and this is making sense. And I'm a mirror to you, to everyone in this group and
Hmm.
vice versa. So I get it.
And I
Uh,
lived in grief last year and it got me absolutely nowhere except manifesting more grief because I was
yeah.
like, I just need to grieve. And so I did for a year. And then it was like, okay, when is it going to stop? But see, what I had done is I became the actor now that was in grief. And it was like, and now it's becoming a new character. So again, that's why the spiritual journey and the healing journey are a trap. As soon as you are aware enough to create your new identity, there's no more healing and there's no more spiritual journey. There's just embodiment. Embodiment. It's just like the little girl, the cheerleader. You're just going to get in the line and you're going to practice your new I am. But you've got to know who she is and what she stands for. And she's not going to go into sympathy because two people in a hole are two people stuck in a hole. Okay. But you are going to go, ooh, I knew I can hold space for her. And I'm not going to tell her that this is her self love journey. And I'm not going to tell her she's better off because I know that in my heart. But what I am going to do is I am going to hold space for her. I'm going to bless her. I'm going to praise her. I'm going to remind her how strong she is. I'm going to tell her how amazing she is. And I'm going to demonstrate who she is through the mirror of what I see in my Christed heart so that she can get confidence enough to keep going. But if all it does is remind you how much grief you have, that's your old I. So I hope every one of you guys can take this story and find your own story that you've been doing that in, whether it's grief or rage or anger. Because again, you might see something totally injustice out there and it might bring you into injustice. And then you feel like you need to process all the injustice out of you. Or you can go right into self forgiveness for creating a world that you're living in. Because remember, your eye is creating the movie. And so we came into this matrix to descend so we could play in someone else's movie and get so annoyed and pissed off by it that we're like, we're creating our own. Okay. But we weren't supposed to stay full of all of the hurt and pain and then never get out of it. So letting it go does not mean necessarily sitting on a therapist's couch and crying about our parents. It means making a decision that we are no longer that I and forgiving the part of us that rebuilt it and proved it and looped it and replayed it and co-created it and manufactured it so many times that it literally is what our body thinks it is now because our body thinks that it is what it has experienced. So this is a higher level of awareness when you have to basically override your own emotion, override your own mind and say, yeah, I really want to get mad right now, but that's going to create cortisol and that is destroying my nervous system. With no nervous system control, you're not exiting the matrix. If you don't feel safe, you won't get out of here. You literally have to feel safe in hell to get out because you're creating your own world. And it has to be safe and it has to be free and it has to be spacious and you have to have time and you have to have abundance. And when you can generate those feelings without having any of it, you win. But you've got to hold it like a stubborn child. Hold on to it. because your abundance is inside of you until it's not. Your safety is inside of you until it's not. So the only training that we actually have to do out in the spiritual world is get to the memory of who our true identity is, and what it's like in heaven. Because what it's like in heaven is there is no sickness, there is no poverty, there is no scarcity, okay? There is no division. So I'm hoping that you guys are creating your I off of that platform. Okay, the new I doesn't live in scarcity or poverty or separation. And again, that's where when that stuff starts to come in, you could go, oh, that's not my I. So let me forgive the one that created this in this moment. And it takes practice. Like I said, if a little girl, it takes her 8 days to just get one little routine down, you're building a whole new identity. Give yourself a few trimesters. Okay, and you're going to practice it, and you're going to prepare for it, and you're going to play it out. You're going to practice it, you're going to prepare for it, and you're going to play it out until it becomes automatic. Okay, so again, remember I said at my birthday, I was like, I'm only giving myself these 3 frequencies. And the only one I added on was blessing. So blessing the old self, blessing the new self, blessing the character that played for me, played my story out for me, just to fill any negative space with light, put everything with light, and then get back into the role, okay? And don't let myself like marinate in the old story, because every thought creates 30,000 chemical reactions. So one negative thought is poisoning your body. And your body is the projector, it is the director, it is the actor. So you need this body to be in harmony with your new I if it's going to build a world out of it. If you want to birth your new world, your body has to be on board with the new I, no matter what's happening outside of you. And we are not waiting for circumstances to be well out there, okay, for us to decide to do this. You will do this and 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 do this day and night, night and day, through every trigger, through every glimmer. And you're going to keep going, you're going to keep going, and then it will become repetitive, subconscious, unconscious, and bam, there is your world. And that's it. Okay? So let's reflect on this today. And if you want to write down those hormones, I highly recommend it, because again, you are healing the environment inside of you when you purposely go towards joy, go towards gratitude, no matter what, right? And again, your body is going to be very addicted to stress, adrenaline. Not you, your body is addicted to it because it feels alive. So it will also feel alive if it has oxytocin, but which one do you give it more? So again, if a kid has been eating a lot of junk food, that's what they're going to crave. And you give them regular food, they're like, ew, right? Until you take the junk food completely away. And now a week in, they're craving the good food and they can't eat the junk food. It's the same exact thing with the hormones. Your body is addicted to junk hormones. It feels like it needs it to survive. It feels like it needs drama and stress to survive. Even though you're like, I don't, your body does. Because that's the character it's been playing. The blindsided, the betrayal, it's like these things, it's like, okay, that's the body that you've created. So the body has an urge to play that part. So then you start to manually give yourself serotonin, manually give oxytocin, manually create it. And at first it'll be like, and then one day it's going to be like, I don't want stress hormones anymore. I want to go to gratitude. Okay. And it will just be like a child getting off of junk food. And now the whole body will heal because all of those hormones are from the creator. All of those hormones are life force energy, which means that if you keep dumping these 4 hormones into your system, they will heal every malfunction, every piece of inflammation, every bone spur that you have. And all you did was think yourself into wellness. So if we want to do this without needing supplements and needing all these things, we can just do this. Now, there are biohacks that make it easier with supplements and things like that. But today we just wanted to talk about creating that inner environment for the I. Okay. So the I is going to live in a certain environment and you've imagineered it. Your job is to create that inside of your body, that feeling.
Hey, Jess.
Yes.
Curious about a distinction here. There's a lot of talk about dopamine, right? And we all
Mhm.
know that dopamine's great at times, but there's a lot of people talking about the negative dopamine, which is from scrolling and,
Right.
all various things. And so, if I'm hearing you right, the dopamine that's healthy for us is what we're creating on the inside. And if we're relying on the dopamine from the outside, then that could be what the maybe negative effect on us
Right.
from it. Okay. Okay.
Great question. Okay. And we'll wrap with this. Okay. So when you are living in your old I, you're living in a state of lack. Yes. The old I, everybody's old I is in lack because that's the matrix. Your old I is programmed in lack. So the reason why dopamine is such a drug when you're in lack is because dopamine says, I am satisfied. Okay. So this is why the dopamine epidemic is like, because you're living in a constant state of lack. So what does your am want? It wants to be satisfied. So you're going out and you're getting a dopamine hit from food, from scrolling, from sex, from planning a trip in the future, whatever. And that's giving you the dopamine because your I is saying, I am in lack. So the am is going to get the dopamine. Okay, that's the problem. So what I'm saying is your new I lives in a state of I'm satisfied because there's only prosperity. So what you're doing is you're saying my new I feels like satisfied. So you are creating the dopamine for your body to match your new I out of a thought. So that's going to create quantum entanglement to the new I. So if you interviewed your new I, right, and there was no lack, right? She didn't have to go to a job. He didn't have to go to a job. They would be satisfied with what it is and they'd be excited for more. That would be the frequency of your new I am. So your new I would only require the dopamine in the healthy level because it's already satisfied. So dopamine is online, it's not missing. Dopamine is only missing when the I am thinks it's in lack. We only stop producing dopamine on our own when we're living in a state of lack. And therefore, our body can't produce dopamine without something outside of us. So that's one of the matrix strongholds is to make everybody think that they're in lack. So they go out to get the dopamine from the matrix. But if you go into the true I, your true I am of who you are in that higher self, they're already satisfied. So as you think of them or think of something they're doing, you will release the dopamine from your future self into your own body. Does that make sense?
Yes. Thank you for that distinction.
And that's a really good point you brought up because again, anything you're chasing outside of you is coming from an I that doesn't have it, which means that if your I doesn't have it and you're chasing it, you'll never get it because it's like the never ending story. Like you just keep chasing it. But if I'm playing the I of lack, I will never fulfill myself ever because I'll get here and then the bottom will fall out, or I'll get here and I will never feel satisfied. That's why you actually have to go to I am satisfied and feel what that feels like and create that dopamine from her, from him. And now it's not synthetic, it's coming from source. Okay. The last thing I want you guys to try, if you want, is something funny, is something fun, because I think that some of you that I've talked to this last week still feel like, am I really connected to source or is that, something else? So again, this is more for your inner child, but I think you're going to enjoy it. Is as you're working on this new eye, okay, there's going to be a lot of storms happening, and you're really going to have to find the eye of your storm. You're really going to have to know who your eye is. But I will tell you that they live in a state of true understanding of who they are as an enlightened, immortal being. They are in a full state of prosperity. They're in a full state of compassion, full state of awareness. Like they're not lacking anything. They have everything. All they're going to do with their abundance is create more or experience it. Okay. They've got the money in the bank. They're going to go have the nice meal, right? They've got the health. They're going to go run with their new body. Like the story's different between your new eye and your old eye. This is why self-concept work is so important. It's like the foundation. Without that, none of this is going to work. Okay. So what you can do is you can decide to create a password for source. Okay. A password. And now it's not going to be a login. It's just a password. And I want you guys to pick a word that you don't hear very often. You don't see very often. You don't speak very often. And it is not spoken to you very often. And allow it to be very unique. Okay. And don't say it out loud. And I want you to think about what it is. And when you think it, that is your password to direct connect to source. Okay. And when source wants to speak to you, you will hear that word in your story. It'll be spoken by someone. It'll be on the back of a truck. Okay. And so I decided that would be fun for me too while I'm going through all this for my inner child, because, I love treasure hunts. So I thought of a word that I barely ever hear. All right. And so then I thought it, and I just thought it maybe, 9 times over and over again. I told my body, this is our password for source. We're not speaking it out loud, but this is the word whenever we need to connect to source, kind of like home, 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 right? Like I can say this word internally and I can immediately connect to source. And then when source is ready to talk to me, I will hear that, or I will get that wink. And it's not like a master number, like, oh, I saw 111. No, this is your password. This is your secret password for source. Okay. And I promise you, if you do this and you really then let it go, this word is going to start showing up, and it is going to make your inner child feel like really seen and heard by the creator. And it is super fun. Like all weekend, I was like, why is this person saying this word right now? And it just made me laugh because this word is not spoken out, but it is just creating a little bit of a play in this journey. Okay. Now I would say that this class, you might want to watch it a couple times, because this will want you to go back to your eye and be like, yeah, who is this person? Because remember, if we were kind of basing it off of our Christed vessel, right? I'm not saying you're going to walk around, resurrecting the dead or anything, but you're not going to live in a state of lack. No lack. Your new eye has nothing lacking. And only creativity, which means you've got the art room, you've got the craft room, you've got the cars to drive, you've got the friends to have dinner with. So it's like, okay, where are we going to go to eat? Where are we going to go play? What are we going to do? Not how are we going to get it? So there's no work in the kingdom. There is just expressing the kingdom. There is being the example of someone who's not in lack. When you meet someone who's not in lack, that is very inspiring. When you meet that person who is very confident, that feels safe to be around that person. But remember, how you can identify the old eye is they're lacking something. And they're speaking it, and they're demonstrating it, or they're hiding it. But your new I lack nothing. And so now I have a strong foundation to create everything. Okay? So if you guys need us to do a class on lack and abundance, we can. Because when I say the kingdom lacks no thing, I'm not saying everything's done for you. I'm saying everything, the playground is there. How are you going to play? The playmates are there. How are you going to play with them? That's going to be the difference. But if you are in lack, you're going to attract it until you decide, I'm done with lack. Okay? All right, guys. Have an amazing day, and I hope you have fun with your passwords. I hope by next week, I don't like that word. I bet by next week, some of you will have randomly heard this word come out of some stranger's mouth or see it somewhere. And it's just play. It's just play. And for any of you guys who are, I don't think any of you are really super like single looking for your person, but let's say you're looking for someone specific, like a new friend or new partner. Tell Creator to put this word into their mouth so that you know that they are for you. Okay? All right, guys. Love you. Bye.